Welcome to the Grand National Preview on BTV. I'm Will Rooney with Joe Nordoff from Timeform, John Neils, owner of Splash of Gins. You were still open, we'll get into the race, John. We're going to rattle through all the runners and riders, hope to give you a winner at home. Of course, we've got to start with last year's winner, Many Clouds. Joe, it's a bit of an afterthought last year when he went to the Grand National after the Gold Cup, but I think campaigns quite lightly around the race. Can he defend his title?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of experts and form judges anyway, thought it was a little bit of a stupid idea in one regard, given that he seemingly had, he looked a little as though he was over the top, is probably the best way to put it, in the Gold Cup. But he obviously bounced back to form, seems to appreciate the decent ground. And essentially he's coming into this race with a much better preparation, certainly in his connections eyes. I think his latest win at Kelso was a really, really good one. And he obviously had a big weight to carry last year, and he's carrying a big weight again. He's obviously going to find it a little bit more tougher given some of the opposition. The race continues to get classier, but does he deserve to be favoured? I think the answer is definitely yes.
John, what do you make of his run at Kelso?
Well, it was frightening, wasn't it? Let's be honest with you. He won the Grand National last year off a very similar. I think he's a pound higher this year, is he, in the weights? But I mean, the Kelso run was it was frightening how good he is. I know Phil Smith, the handicapper, obviously feels he's the first horse that in a long time that they believe he can go and win it again. And if Phil Smith says it, you have to believe it. But it's going to take a monster performance to be able to win it off top weight of any national. But I think if anyone who's gone for it in recent years, he's definitely got the best chance.
Got a cracking renewal this year, haven't we? And of course, we've got Sylvian Conti, two-time King George winner, two-time Bethlehem Bowl winner. Paul Nicholls is chasing the Trainers' Championship. He wants to win this race to keep Willie Mullins away. Conti, does he stay?
Look, he's so classy, it might not matter. He's a very, very good horse. And obviously that run at Ascot, was it Ascot? Yeah, Ascot where he ran. I mean, and that was after the Grand National weights come out, and Nicholls is desperate to win this race. I mean, obviously, look at the field. I think a quarter of the field belongs to Nicholls and Mullins, and I think whoever wins it out of those two will win the Trainers' Championship. So, look, he's a very, very good horse on his day. And as I said, will he stay? It might not matter. He might be that classy that he can get home anyway.
Conti, Joe, does it worry you that he didn't get the hill up the hill at Cheltenham, and now he's going for the 4 mile 4 trip?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily getting up the hill. I think there's a few factors with Silviano Conti to take into consideration. I think the first one is his Aintree form stands up to plenty of scrutiny, as you've already made reference to. I think Paul Nicholls has had a difficult time with him, trying to get him right. He's obviously had some well-documented problems, but he come right at Ascot. And if he can replicate that form back at this track that he likes, I think the big question is whether he'll see out the trip. I don't think Paul Nicholls got any concerns about that. Obviously, as you said, I work for Timeform. The figure he posted at Ascot that day was a pretty good one. And he is obviously very well handicapped if he's able to replicate that at this course off. I think he's got 11 stone 8. So he's a better judge than me and all of us, isn't he, Paul Nicholls? Certainly on his own horses. If he does see it out, then he's going to be a big player.
We know he's chasing the title there. He's got Union East, Wonderful Charm, just a par. Union East was behind Many Clouds, but he's got a few pounds in hand now, John. Who'd you like otherwise from Nicholls' yard, or?
I know Sam is not overly keen on Wonderful Charm, but he could run a good race. And again, he's got good form around Aintree. Not necessarily over the national fences, but Aintree has got its own little quirks. It's a flat track, there's a few sharp turns, and even on a national course. So I think Wonderful Charm could run a reasonable race at a big price, but I wouldn't be back in Union East. But that probably means he goes and hoses up now by half the track. I wouldn't personally think that Union East is going to be. I don't think he's going to have the necessary class to win it this year.
No AP McCoy this year, of course, he retired, but the JP McManus hoops are always prominent in the betting. Joe, he's got Shut the Front Door, he's got Gil Gamboa, Pendra. Who'd you like out of the JP runners?
Well, I actually like another one apart from them three, in truth. Shut the Front Door slightly put me off the way he seemed to run out of his stamina reserves, is the best way to put it. Seemed to be
slightly, didn't
he emptied coming home, and he was travelling very well. For me, I'm going to be with Gallant Oscar from JP McManus's little contingent. A few factors really to take into consideration. I think he's at the top end of his mark, really. I think he's off 150 now. But he's definitely a spring horse. He likes decent enough ground. If there's not too much rain knocking about, then I think he's going to be a big player. Certainly with the trip still to explore, I think that's going to be a positive for him.
Good stuff. We're all praying that Splash of Ginger will obviously get in, John. But you've been down to Nigel Twiston-Davies' yard earlier this week. Double Ross runs. He's obviously won the race twice, Nigel Twiston-Davies. How's he looking going into the race?
I think they're very positive, and as I say, I know the owners of the horse quite well, so they're obviously really hopeful. If he gets into a rhythm and jumps, he'll probably be very prominent. And his issue is, will he stay? He's never won over further than 3 miles, you know. So that's going to be a question for a lot of them. But there's only one national. There's very few races over 4 miles. In fact, there's only one race over 4 miles, 2 furlongs. And there's very few races over 4 miles. So who knows? If he gets in a rhythm out front, he's a very classy horse on his day, Double Ross. And he's running some very, very good races in his time. So he's the sort of, if he gets in a rhythm, if he bounces them out, I really hope they put Ryan Hatch on him. I'm not sure at the moment because he is riding with so much confidence. And maybe that could be a difference. And I think he could, you know, he's a big price. He's 66 to 1, something like that. So he's more than capable of running to replace off that price. So yeah, I think they're very hopeful, optimistic, and I think any rain would give him a better chance. Even though we're talking about not staying, I think he jumps better and I think he travels better on rain softened ground. So that'd be a big plus for him.
Very quickly on Splash of Ginger, looks like he might go for the race before, possibly.
Yeah, my heart's breaking in 2 places, but it's just, as we've all discussed before we came in today, it's the highest quality national in history. You know, he's just been a bit unlucky to drop on the best one there's ever been. But, you know, he's young enough. Hopefully we'll come back next year. I don't like 2016 anyway. I'd rather win it in 2017. It's got a nicer feel, hasn't it? So hopefully we'll be back.
Joel, come on to you. I remember speaking to you early in the season when we just started our Off the Bridle podcast. St. R, I asked you, who'd you like for the national? You said early on, St. R. He's only running off £3 higher, isn't he, than last season? Gave a cracking race to many clouds.
Yeah, he did. I've got a real soft spot for St. R in truth. Back then when he won the good quality 3 mile hurdle as a novice, I think Tim Vaughan had him then. And he's essentially just been a real Aintree favourite ever since for many people, and he just loves the course. I think it's no reflection on Tim Vaughan, but Tom George seems to have got even better out of the horse. And he's another one who's coming in with an ideal preparation along the Many Clouds line this year. So for me, I do think he'll run well. And I think he's one of the obvious each-way players really overall.
Run well, didn't he, last year, St. Arne? He won well at Doncaster last time.
Well, look, if we fancy Many Clouds for the race, you have to fancy St. R. Because he's £2 better off and he's coming into this race in better form than he came into last year's. And although he is off £3 higher in the ratings, he's actually run off £1 lower than he ran off last year. He's actually run off 10.5 instead of 10.6. He's got a £2 swing with Many Clouds. If you fancy Many Clouds at 7 and 8 to 1, you have to fancy St. R at a much more generous price of 25s. He's one of my major picks for the race. I think his form is cast iron. His form round Aintree is excellent. And you know, he comes into this race off the best run of his life. He couldn't literally be in better form.
Certainly a horse that finds off the bridle as well, if anyone's looking for a horse like that. Undoubtedly got the stamina reserves for it. I think Tom George thinks maybe they should have made a bit more use of him last year and he might have got a little bit closer. But one thing you'll notice about this horse is when he is given the persuader, it's the best way to put it, he usually finds generously for pressure.
He's game and he's tough, isn't he? Yeah.
He's going to be a player again.
Great point. So we'll go into Holywell, former Grade 1 winner. John, I know you really like Holywell on good spring grounds. John Joe O'Neill won the race before. What's your thoughts on Holywell's chances?
I'm just concerned about the rain. That's what I'm concerned about with Holywell. I'm concerned any more rain will not do him any favours. But he's a class animal. He ran a great race at Cheltenham. He's got all the class in the world. And I think they've been waiting all spring. And I think John Joe, who I met actually at Aintree a couple of weeks ago, he's exceptionally sweet on his chances. But I don't think they'll be praying that the rain stays away, not comes. And if we get the forecast rain, it might just turn the ground against him. But very dangerous to write off and a very classy horse.
Rattle through the few other protagonists. Joe, the Last Samurai, the Druids Nephew, Nicky Henderson's won the race before. He's got Trio Delane, who's won over the fences in the Topham. Who'd you like elsewhere?
Well, I think that Grimthorpe form could be a key piece of form from Doncaster with the Last Samurai and the Druids Nephew. I think the Druids Nephew may have seen that as more of a prep run, maybe, than the Last Samurai. And obviously he was going like a dream, or appeared to be last year before. I don't even think it was a bad jump when he come to grief. He sort of
knuckled on landed.
He knuckled as he landed, and sort of slid along the ground. I'd be keen on the Druids Nephew about 16 to 1. He's a little bit higher in the weights. And in reference to the Last Samurai, he's obviously been a steady improver. You know, unfortunately, taking off Donald McCain. Kim Bailey's steadily getting him to, you know, just improve generally. And I think he's due to carry £12 more after the National. So that's obviously worth bearing in mind. But for me, I just seen the Druids Nephew as having more of a prep run at Doncaster. And I think he might be a big player.
John, you're the working class hero. Give us a big price.
I go for Buywise. I'm all over Buywise. He's just an Aintree horse for me. He's got his quirks. He seems to find a way to get beat all the time, but he's 50 to 1. I think some places give him your fair 6 places. I'm all over Buywise for this year's Grand National. I'm hoping he stays out of trouble. He's got the right jockey to do it. He might give these fences a bit more respect than he gives others. And I think if he's anywhere near him coming home, I think he's got a fantastic chance of being the 2016 Grand National winner.
So I give you the tenner each way now, that's where your tenner goes.
That's where my £10 each way will go on Buywise.
Joe, I don't like you as much, I'll give you a fiver each way, where does that go?
I think mine's
He's
gonna
got more money than me.
I think mine would be with the Druids Nephew overall. And quickly, I think we all wanted to make reference to the fact that Goonyella might be one. Certainly, if
Yeah,
this
with the
rain
rain,
gets
yeah.
into the ground on
Absolutely.
later in
If
the
the rain
week,
comes, Goonyella's a big outsider.
he needs the softened ground definitely, and he'll be a player with his obviously his Midlands national win still, you know, likely to stand him in good stead coming into this.
Yeah, and I'll quickly put up Holywell. I think he'll run a big race on the ground. Thanks very much for watching.